Dr. Jazz.
For taking the time. Appreciate it, first of all.
Okay, yeah, thanks for having me. All right, can you hear me okay though?
Yeah, super good. The
All right,
the
all
voice
right.
is really good. So,
Okay.
but I will just jump in. I have you on so many albums, and I've known you're playing for such a long time, and I love the solo bass album you did, Spirituals. Like that was a
Oh,
couple of years ago, like 3 years ago, right? I think, or and
yeah, yeah, something like that. Yeah,
I wanted to ask you.
yeah,
I love the double bass solo tradition. Obviously, it's immense, and your
yeah.
sound is huge, and the playing and the phrasing is beautiful. Like, how did you decide to do when you play solo bass? I mean, how do you envision a solo concert or even this record? I mean, what's your process there?
Yeah, it's the process started when I was still a teenager. Because I was grabbing my coffee.
Oh, sure.
Sorry. Yeah, the process started when I was a teenager. When my brother came home from college, and I was rummaging, brother, going through his record collection.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I came across a Stanley Clarke record where it's just a picture of Stanley Clarke, just titled Stanley Clarke, and I'm hearing him play unaccompanied bass, and I was just like, "Oh my God!" And so that just made me think about the bass differently than I had ever before, and I probably wore that record out because I listened to it so much, and then I started to get the idea of just being able to perform that way, just unaccompanied. I think part of the idea too, although I didn't put this together later, when I was in sixth grade, I guess whatever age that is, 11, 12 years old, I heard a concert of Jacqueline Dupre play unaccompanied cello, and this was in Iowa where I grew up, and I saw the effect that she had on the audience there. People just raved at that concert. So I think probably, the actual first seed was probably planted kind of then. But when I came across that Stanley Clarke record, that was just so. And then so I started listening, getting hands on other, unaccompanied recordings. And there's that record, Love Supreme, with Jimmy Garrison, and then there's others that have done. Then a few years later, I came across Charlie Hayden, and so so I just started thinking of things I could do to play unaccompanied, and oftentimes when you're playing live, though, performing live, there'll be a time for a bass solo, and a lot of times guys just let you play unaccompanied. And so you started developing my skills in that circumstance. And so that happened plenty, and it's still happens, and so on. And so I developed. Then I took composition lessons with a classical composer. Yeah, with a classical composer. His name was James Forte, and he really got me to understand how to really put notes together. He really got me to understand harmony. Really got me to understand counterpoint. Really got me to understand melodies. Writing melodies, and a long way of having discipline.
Yeah.
And so with all that, I just started doing and writing and performing for unaccompanied bass. And so the Spirituals one was the latest recording.
Yeah.
I've been doing this show where I take Negro spirituals that relate to the Underground Railroad that enslaved Africans used to escape from the South to the North.
Yeah. And
I've made solo bass pieces out of those, and I talk about those, which ones, like Wade in the Water and Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, et cetera. And and what their meaning was and how they were used to help people escape.
Yeah.
There's more details that I could talk about it all day.
Sure,
I'm not sure if you want to hear about it all day. Yeah.
No, but yeah, it's beautiful. Like,
Thanks.
Just also the sound, you got, you can play some crazy lines, but you can then also just play long notes, and those are like, for me, really, and the spaces between the notes, it's like, oh man, it's so beautiful, like really nice. I love this.
Playing with Jimmy Scott. Playing with Jimmy Scott. Because he sang so many ballads.
Yeah.
The idea was, the idea was play minimally, so he could jam so he could expand on the lyric any way that he wanted to. And since I was the MD, I kind of set the mood or the tenor for the band. And so it was just like, okay, we've got one chord for this whole measure. Maybe I'll just play one note, maybe two notes,
Yeah.
And so I got used to the idea of just boom, boom.
Yeah.
Boom. And that kind of shaped how everybody would, play behind them. And so we developed, the idea was like, the lyric was paramount for him. So my idea was to just lay some sort of bedrock, kind of minimally as possible, so he could just deliver the lyric any way he felt he wanted to. That's
so important. Yeah, you can hear that in your playing. Yeah, I love that. What about band leading? I mean, I saw you're playing like in 3 days from now in with Roberta Pickett and Newman Taylor Baker.
Yes,
your group.
Yes,
I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
Are you going to play some new material? Are you preparing something as a band leader also to be released in the future,
Well, yeah, this is, I hope I get a chance to record with this group, but we're going to be playing nothing but standards in this.
Oh, really?
And I call it, I call this my in and out band.
Yeah.
Well, we take standard tunes and then we really open them up. And so, it's, as you know, standard form is 32 bars, or an 8-bar phrase, but a guy can make it 9 bars, 7 bars, 3 bars. I don't care. But I'm not looking for anybody to play in any kind of 8-bar, 8-bar or 32-bar standard phrasing. So it's just, everything has a lot more elasticity.
Yeah.
And people can just be very creative and be very expressive. So I started to get the idea when I was on the road with Charles Gayle, and he would play standards.
Yeah.
And oftentimes, he might play 1A before he goes to the bridge, or he might play 3 A's before he goes to the bridge. And it was kind of like, oh, this is kind of cool. I just like, and with a lot of these tunes, a lot of the standard tunes that I'll choose, they actually center around the same tonality, so you can kind of get it. So if it's like a song that's in B flat, it might shift to the relative minor at some point, G minor, but you still kind of have the same tonal center.
Exactly.
So if somebody's playing the A section, somebody's playing the B section, it can still kind of work and give you a different look or a different way to hear the tune.
Yeah.
And so it's become a very, very exciting way to play. So I'm glad I have an opportunity to present next week.
Yeah, so, beautiful. Yeah. When have you started leading bands, by the way? I mean, I know in YouTube, like the Jazz Expressions, your group, and some other bands. But when was the first? When did you start leading groups as a band leader?
I guess formally, when I was in high school, I started conducting the pep band at my high school. Yeah, I went up to the teacher one day and I said, I'd come back, I was fresh back from a music camp, and I got this idea. I wonder if the teacher would let me conduct the pep band. That way, he didn't have to deal with it and deal with the pep band. And it was sad. I was eager for the experience. And he's, and to his credit, he let some stupid high school kid run the pep band. And so, I learned so much, but that was my first, delve into, being, leading.
Yeah.
And then when I started doing Jimmy Scott's gig, he was insistent on the band opening up for him. So the band would have to play at least one or two tunes before he would do his set. And I mean, he was insistent on it. I was just like, but Jimmy, they came to see you. It didn't matter, almost every gig, the band had to. So I got the idea, and in those days he called the band the Jazz Expressions, and so he let me, get the name later on. After I became musical director, he let me, own the name, and so I called the band the Jazz Expressions. But it was like, the requirement is everybody in the band has to write for the band and has to write music for the record. That's just a requirement, Yeah. And so, the piano player has to write, the drummer has to write, the horn player has to write, I have to write, And so, so every gig I feature at least one of everybody's songs, usually two.
That's right.
Yeah. So that's the situation. So, and the band's called the Jazz Expressions, and everybody writes for the band. Occasionally, I don't mind if they do a really elaborate arrangement of a particular tune that they really put a lot of thought into.
Yeah.
But the idea is everybody in the band has to write. And I've had a couple guys in the band I've really had to go, come on, get that tune ready for rehearsal. Get it, come on. And they usually thank me later.
Sure.
Yeah. And one time, one guy, his wife thanked me later because he named the tune after her. So she thanked me later. So, but I kind of had to.
Yeah.
So, but that's how I structure that band. So
you're quite liberal in this sense as a band leader, right? I mean, it's more like a group thinking. I mean.
Yeah, group thinking.
Yeah.
A couple of reasons was, what I kind of find that I like is every musician I work with has something special that they have to offer, that they do. Just every musician I almost come across, and so if I tell them to write for the band, that special thing will oftentimes come out, and that special thing is much better than what I would think of on my own. So I just we just got a more exciting performance if that special thing comes out of that member, and then that special thing comes out of that other member, and then that special thing comes out of the other member. You see where I'm getting?
Yeah.
It's
sure.
like,
definitely.
so it's like, instead of them just, everybody playing my stuff that I think is special, if everybody plays their stuff, everybody plays something special, and so it's just worked out. It's worked out that way. So that's my thought process about it. So
yeah, I mean, on the other, you think about some of the greatest bands like Miles' Quintet. Everyone wrote for the band.
Yeah, right. The Jazz. I mean Art Blakey's bands.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. And so everybody wrote. So it's like,
that's a good
it's like everybody's got something special. So I want to see that, and I want to hear that.
Yeah.
So that's why I require it. Yeah. Yeah. Sometimes it takes me being a pain in their butt, but it's all right.
No, sure, that's good. The job of a band leader. Yeah. Come on,
right. You're right. Exactly. Yeah, I know.
But Hilliard, I wanted to ask you. You mentioned Stanley Clarke before, speaking about solo bass, but in general about improvisation and jazz. Did you have like a moment that you decided like why you want to go this path? I mean, Did you hear like a particular concert or?
Uh, to do, you mean to do solo performing, you mean, or
No, I
just
mean like
to
in
perform
general,
in general?
to go to
Yeah,
jazz. I mean to the jazz world.
yeah.
Like,
Oh, yeah, yeah. That's a good question. I was in, I was in, I was playing cello up until I was like 12 years old.
hmm,
And when I was 12, I was playing in the school orchestra, and so it's, me and this other guy, we were the last two cellists in the orchestra. And, and, one, my stand partner said to me, I'm going to do something important in life. Relative, he didn't say it like that, but that's what this was the implication. He's going to do something important in life. He was going to switch to bass when he got to junior high school, middle school. And I said, that's a good idea. So, so the next year I got to seventh grade. I was still 12 years old. I told the teacher, I want to play the bass. And, she knew I played cello, but I told her I wanted to play the bass. And she was okay. And so that teacher started giving me my first bass lessons, yeah. And then during that time, one of the other teachers brought in some jazz. She brought in Miles Davis primarily, and we were listening to that in class, and it was just like, it was probably kind of blue, and then West Coast, and he said, "Yeah, this is cool jazz." And I said, "Wow, this stuff is cool," And so I put, and I said, "Wow, well, as a bass player, yeah, you could play in orchestra, you could play jazz, you could do all this stuff." And then when somebody, a school buddy said, "Well, because you can play electric bass because the strings are the same." I was like, "Wow, I could play in rock bands too," And so I just, it was like, okay, I'm going to be a bass player. That's I'm going to learn how to. I'm going to, I got acquainted with jazz, and I'm going to learn how to, I'm going to learn how to improvise. And so I started, listening more and more stuff, and started trying to get around other college age kids, when I was in high school and stuff, to teach me how to improvise. And I started to get a pretty good handle on it by the time I graduated from high school. Yeah. Yeah, I was pretty proficient as a high school bassist.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it was just, but that teacher, really got me thinking about learning to improvise when she brought in those records from Miles Davis.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
And so she unfortunately never had a chance to thank her because she died. She had guns, and that she was I think she was the choir director. Yeah. So, but anyway, yeah.
That you got exposed quite early. I mean,
yeah,
that's important.
yeah,
we always see that. Yeah.
And so, I started, learning where the, jazz radio stations were in the area, and talking to other musicians, and eventually went to a jazz, a camp where they talked more about jazz and everything else. And so, I developed, I was pretty prodigious as far as high school playing jazz. I was taking lessons and hanging out with the college students. You saw them, they sense my enthusiasm, and so they, all right, let the little kid come on,
Yeah.
So it was like that. They were very helpful. Yeah.
When did you move to New York, by the way? I mean,
yeah, I'd grown up in Iowa, and then I left Iowa when I was in my early 20s to go to Boston. And then I lived in Boston for about 5 or 6 years.
Oh, really?
And then
okay.
Went to Berkeley for a couple of semesters, and then I just lived in Boston after that. And it was during that time I was studying with a classical composer. And then after I got to a certain level of that guy's program, I said, okay, I'm ready to move to New York, and found a place to live, got a job on a cruise ship, and it's, did the cruise shop for about 9 months. And
Wow.
then after that, I just started making my way around New York City,
Yeah.
And it was shortly after I, settled in New York that I ran into came across Charles Gayle.
Oh, when was
And
that? In which year was that?
that was 87.
Already? Okay.
87.
Wow. Okay.
Yeah, yeah, 87. Yeah, I was one of my first day jobs in New York was I was a foot messenger. I was walking from skyscraper to skyscraper,
Yeah.
delivering packages.
Wow.
Because it was before email and all that. It was before computers and all that.
Sure.
So office buildings had to, for correspondence, they had to have a person, either by bike or by foot, go to these different office buildings and deliver packages. And so, that was one of my gigs. And I was in Grand Central Station. I hear this. I said, what is that? Where is that? And I started running around Grand Central Station trying to figure out where it was and I finally I go out this door and there's this guy, with an overcoat on and playing a silver alto and playing the stuff that I was just like, I never heard anything like this before. And so I listened for a while. I put some money in his cup and told him, I'm new to town and looking for more stuff to do. And he told me where he was playing. He had a gig coming up in the village, in the Lower East Side, and the village. It was right on the edge. And so I went and I heard him play with a trio. I was like, man, you're really good. So, yeah. And next gig he had, he decided to hire me and a buddy of mine named David Pleasant, and we started doing lots of gigs with him, in that area. And we're part of the Charles Gayle trio,
Yeah.
and so that that's the start of my stint with Charles. And Charles just recently passed, like about a week or two ago.
I know, man.
Yeah. So just kind of like, wow,
Yeah, he's one of those underrated greats, I think, of the horn.
Yeah.
Really,
Yeah.
like more people should know about his playing. I mean, those records you guys did like early 90s. That's Repent and that Forgiveness and that's that.
Yeah.
I mean, the interaction of you guys, it's also amazing, it's and his sound and everything.
Yeah.
Amazing player. Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yeah, I know it was wild, because like I just, everything was just so new to me and everything else. And when I went to, Europe with him and stuff and to kind of see the reception that he got and everything that, I was just like, I didn't even know it was even, I didn't even know that somebody could be being able to get paid money to play music like this. I didn't know it was even possible.
Sure, man. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's like, damn, I'm doing this. I get paid too. Wow.
When was it the first time in Europe with Charles for you? I mean,
first time
was it like late 80s? Already? Okay, wow.
Yeah, it was 88. I had gone. I was the knitting factory. Michael Dore had contracted a bunch of musicians to do a festival over there, and so since I was playing with Charles, I was one of the musicians that was included. But William Parker was there. Elliott Sharp was there. Roy Campbell was there. A whole bunch of us. Yeah, it was like, it was nice hang. We're all right on the plane together, on the bus and stuff, whatever. Nice. It was just, it was wild. And I was speaking with Michael Marcus last night. I ran into him at a coffee shop, and because he was one who gave me my first tour, full out tour. We had multiple dates, and with his band was me, him, Ted Daniels. Oh geez, and I'm kidding. I'll think of who else was in the band later, but yeah. Oh, Reggie Nicholson. Yeah.
Oh wow, beautiful man.
Yeah. And that was exciting. So, yeah, so I started having, having these experiences, and then, of course, one thing leads to another, and one thing leads to another thing, and things just, snowball from there. So,
Yeah. How did you meet Don Pullen? Because I know there's like this one.
Oh yeah, that's another wild story. I was sitting around my house, and I get a call from an electric bass player. He happens to have the same last name as mine, spelled differently, but same. He called me out of the blue, and he just said, "Don Pullen's holding auditions at such and such a spot." And I was like, "Oh, really?" And so I just went.
Wow.
I just showed up, and yeah, he let me, he let me play, and then he let me play, let me audition, and then I ran into him on that Michael Marcus tour. I ran into him in Europe,
Mm.
and I'm walking by him, and he says, I see, and I hear this voice say to me, "Nice to see you on the international scene." And I was like, "Oh, Don!" It's like, and so, yeah, so he was, he gave me a, long story short, he had just ended up hiring me for a tour in England. And we did about 10 concerts in England, 10 days or something like that. Yeah, that was another mind-blowing experience, because it was me, him, and Cindy Blackman.
Oh, really?
And,
Oh, man. Wow, that's a band. Christ. Okay.
Yeah. It was, I was really green to the road, and everything else. So it was kind of, it's probably annoying to him. But for me, I was just like, what? Yeah. And so, we did that. Yeah. And,
beautiful.
yeah. So there's a record. I need to get this. I think because the BBC recorded a live concert we did at Queen Elizabeth Hall.
I have that. Yeah, it's from.
Do you really?
Yeah. I have it in MP3 on one of my external drives.
Oh Jesus!
It's from 1992. I might be wrong.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah, it would have been like something like that. Yeah. Oh my God. Oh, all right. Yeah, because I haven't even heard it yet. All right. So yeah. All right. So okay. So yeah, that's something I need to get my hands on.
So if it's easy for me to find it, I'll send it to you actually via WeTransfer.
Okay. If you would, I would really, I would really appreciate it.
Hopefully I'll find it on one of the. I have like.
Yeah, I'm sure you have a million things.
But if I just find it fast, then I'll gladly send it to you. Really, it's
okay.
That's what I wanted to ask you.
That'd be awesome. Thanks.
With Don, he was.
So it was me, him, and Cindy Blackman. Yeah, and it was a two. Yeah, it was two trios, me, Cindy, and Don, and then the other trio was Paul Blake, Steve Swallow.
Ooh.
Help me, and oh geez. I'm sorry, my age is kicking in. Place that. So we were two trios traveling together.
Wow.
Doing concerts, or in England. It was just exciting.
How was playing like with Cindy? I mean, this was when she was.
Yeah, it was great. Yeah, I knew her from Berkeley, so we kind of knew each other already. But yeah, Cindy was great. Yeah, she's just a powerhouse.
Yeah, I know. Cool.
Yeah, it's just really cool. Yeah,
back in the jazz days, of course, her playing actually.
Yeah, but she had already been doing Lenny Kravitz's gig, but I just know her as a jazz, one of the cats playing jazz, jazz drummer, and because she's versatile, she was able to get into other stuff as well. But one time she was late to rehearsal with Don, and she apologized because she said she had gotten wrapped up transcribing a Tony Williams song. And lost track of time. She felt bad. It was the only time I'd seen her, tardy.
That's funny. Wow.
Yeah, but she loved Tony Williams.
Sure.
Yeah.
So, you got to play like also with so many drummers. When I checked my amazing drummers, the CDs I have you on, and I also read on your website, I didn't find on any albums, but like you played with Rashid Ali also, right?
Yeah. I didn't get we didn't get a chance to record with Shiv, but man, we used to go to his house and we did a lot of playing. Yeah, I only got a chance to do like 1 or 2 gigs with him though. But it was like, that was good because that's so much his. He's got so many stories. It was, I think about it, man. He used to crack me up. But hanging out with him, playing with him was just great. And stories about him having to deal with the the mafia when he had his joint, when he had his club, and some of the things he did playing with Train, his experiences doing that. But it was but unfortunately the band didn't last long enough for us to be able to record.
Oh, that's a shame.
And then also I was he did go on a tour and I couldn't do it because I had conflicts with playing with Jimmy, and so it was just so I couldn't make the tour with him. So that was disappointing. So,
I love the tube,
but
basically,
it's but like around. But I'm so grateful because I've been able to play with so many really good and great drummers around New York City that it's just. I was telling a friend who I was in North Carolina, and he sensed my disappointment with the drummer who was on the gig that day, and he said, "Hill, you live in New York. You've been spoiled rotten."
Yeah, exactly, man.
He's like, okay, you're right. I've been spoiled rotten. So I just, all right, okay.
Yeah, the bar is really high. The bar is high.
The bars are it's like, and so that's just what it is. But that's one of the beauties about living in New York City. It's just all these great musicians you get a chance to make music with.
Crazy.
So it's inspiring.
Yeah, definitely. Hilliard, I wanted to ask you also about your connection with Jamil Moondog, who sadly passed away like 2 years ago. Yeah, but like you had. I love those records you guys did, the Zookeeper's House and the Astral Revelations and all. It's such nice music. Like how did you hook up with him? And
just being on the scene and stuff like that, we started to become familiar with each other. And I think how we started really playing together, one of the guys that was one of the producers of the records, he had this idea of me and Jamil doing a duo record.
Okay.
And so I think that put the bug in Jamil's ear to use me. And so, but Jamil, had something else in mind. And so he, that's when he did the Zookeepers record.
Yeah.
He organized amazing. Music and raised money for it. Yeah. And then that record producer, still had the idea of Jamil and I doing a duo record. So we did that, and then we went on tour with me, Jamil Newman, and Matt Ship.
Yeah.
Newman Taylor Baker and Matt Ship. And we did a tour in Europe. And they took one of those live concerts and made a recording out of that. And so that was cool. So that's kind of how that all materialized. And then they were trying to plan on doing something else, and the next tour after that kind of fell through. I'm not sure why, but it fell through, which was a drag. And then not too long after that, Jamil passed.
Yeah.
So, but that was it was one of these like, man, I wish these days never end. That was a really fun tour.
Imagine, killing band. I mean, you and Newman also. I love your connection with Newman. It's beautiful.
Newman's a really nice guy. He's real, he's a spiritual guy, and he was he was one of the first guys I met in the late '80s.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we were doing gigs. We were doing gigs with Kali Z, and that's where, yeah, and, he sensed my youthfulness and everything. So he was kind of helpful. He did a lot to help, guide me, told me, advise me in certain ways and stuff. Help me get going. And then, yeah, it was, but yeah, just being able to be around Newman's been great.
Yeah.
Playing, just playing wise and playing wise and as a friend. It's been great. And so, go over to his house to rehearse and hang out and everything else, but it's been wonderful.
Yeah. I love his playing. I mean, he's such a great drummer. And you always, you kind of through your path, like you always walked this, you can play really out stuff, but also in stuff. And but I wanted to ask you, when you arrived to New York, late 80s, and if you compare it now, I mean, obviously the times are different, like, but what was it easier then getting gigs, like in the early 90s, late 80s, or?
In musician life, it's it's a lot of it's a hand to mouth existence. So it's like one gig leads to another gig, which leads to another gig, and and then so it's kind of like that. But one of the things, like I try to tell people who are trying to figure out how to make their way, make a living playing music, is get yourself to be able to play a variety of styles and exist in these different styles. And then because like you may have a batch of gigs with in one style, but that it's not always going to be enough. It might be, but it's not always going to be enough. So if you're in another circle,
that helps.
When things get dry in there, the other thing might be red hot. And if there's a third style that you can be proficient at, you'll probably always find yourself working, because it's not usually that all three scenes, usually one or two or three, not all, usually three scenes, or something's always happening. So I just try to tell people. So some guys are very active in Broadway. Some guys are active in the classical world. Some guys are active in the jazz world, and two of those, three of those, and a lot of times they see that they find themselves working, consistently. So, but for myself, it was like I did learn early on that I had kind of natural propensity to play out music. And so, but I remember telling myself as soon as I realized that I better learn how to play inside music, because not everybody's going to really be able to enjoy this outside music. So I really had to make a conscious effort to, learn how to play the inside stuff. So, that's kind of how it happened. So I would force myself to, play the inside stuff, even though it might not have been my natural inclination. I've got a cat here that wants my attention.
Oh man,
so I can't. Well,
oh come on.
A cat here on the floor. Yeah,
I have a cat at home as well. So, but he's upstairs.
Yeah,
so I know how that is. It's like
So
it's
yeah.
Cat love.
So,
come on.
he's here. Finnegan, you want to say hi to everybody? Finnegan here. Okay, this is Finnegan.
Oh man,
and hopefully by picking him up, he probably won't. He'll probably want to not want to be okay.
Oh, beautiful, beautiful.
Okay, so anyway,
okay.
But he was a stray that grabbed onto our household. Yeah, so
beautiful.
Anyway,
I love that. I wanted to ask, speaking of inside, outside, like, how did you end working with Dave Douglas? I mean, on that Sanctuary album. I mean,
well, I met Dave Douglas in this band called his band Second Sight. I think we probably knew each other from Boston as well.
Oh, really?
So we already kind of knew each other. Yeah. and we were playing this band called Second Sight that was, run by John Esposito. Um, and then one time I was just hanging around the knitting factory for some reason or another, and we ran into each other, and he just said, "Oh, you'd be perfect for this thing I got coming up." I was like, "Okay." and so yeah, and that happened to be that band album that we were recording that album Sanctuary.
Yeah.
We did we were all in a room at this knitting factory, and John, I forget his last name, was the engineer if I remember right. And yeah, we took about a week,
Wow.
a week to record that, and then he eventually got a tour on that record. That was one of my first tours. So I was still really green to the road, but I remember. I don't know if you want to hear about this story, but it was basically it was traveling with my acoustic bass in those days was really difficult, and I had this flight case that was difficult to get into a car, and the car that this company sent could not fit me in my flight case into the start and take me to the airport. So they sent another car. Same thing. Couldn't fit my bass in the flight case. And it's Friday afternoon, and it's rush hour, and the plane leaves at like 7 o'clock or something like that. And so they send another car, but I'm out on the sidewalk and I'm freaking out. And this guy who happens to have a van, he says, he offers to give me a ride to the airport. I said, "Yes, please. But first I have to wait for my girlfriend to do such and such. So that takes up an extra 20 minutes or something like that." But so you get in, he drives me to the airport, and he happens to have a phone because this is before cell phones. People had phones on the regular. And so Dave was one of those guys that did have a cell phone. So, I was able to get a message to him telling him what was happening and stuff like that. And I thought everything was going to be cool because he was down there, in the check-in area, greeting me, trying to get it to happen. And, but apparently they had given my seat away, and I had to catch the next flight. And then the next flight, which was several hours later. So I got on that plane, I get to the airport, and then I get there so late, and my instruction was to leave the flight case at the airport. Then I get stopped by customs because the dog is freaking out because the dog's like, he's never seen something this big before, so the dog is freaking out. So the cops, the custom officers stop me and they ask me, if I have any drugs or anything like that. I'm like, no. It's like, and so they finally let me go. But then I get to the place where I need to drop off the flight case and just carry the bass. That place is closed for the night. So I'm in Milan and I'm stuck in the airport overnight.
That's a nice start of the tour.
It was just the travel day from hell. Yeah, right. Nice start to the tour. So I missed the first gig of the tour.
Oh man.
I caught up with the band later on, another the second stop, and I just went from there. But it was like, and I was still really green to the road. So I didn't know all the ins and outs that I really needed to do to kind of get myself successfully there. But that was the high, low point of that tour. But the rest of the tour was great, and the music was great and everything. So it was really exciting. But that was just such a miserable travel day that I had that will go in the history books.
Yeah, man. Yeah.
So anyway, but yeah, so yeah. So yeah, it was on the record was me and Mark Dresser.
Mark Dresser,
on the tour though was me and Drew Gress.
Really? Oh man.
Yeah.
You and Drew. That must have been cool.
Yeah, Mark is in San Diego.
Wow. Amazing. Oh shit. Oh.
I got the idea to buy this bass because of Mark Dresser. There's a
Oh, yeah.
guy named Clint Clayton who's in Colorado, and he makes these really good basses out of really good material, but they're really, relatively speaking, they're cheap.
Mm.
And the neck comes off of him, and that's one of Mark's main basses that he uses. And then when I tried it out, I was doing a tour in Colorado, and I borrowed the bass to make that tour, and I liked it so much that I was able to buy it.
Oh,
Yeah, and so so it's one of my it's one of my two main working basses. So, but it's a result of Mark Dresser. Mark Dresser got me on that because he has one, and so that got me started on this idea.
That's beautiful.
So, yeah.
I wanted to ask you, speaking of touring, I saw next year you're going on the road with James Carter with this
yes
Lockjaw product. How did that happen with James? Did you play before? I mean, or
yeah. James had hired me to do the Blue Note a couple times,
okay.
starting, and then so we've done the Blue Note twice, and then we did Birdland earlier this year. And the idea around Birdland earlier this year, he wanted to feature the music of Lockjaw.
Yeah,
it was like 100th birthday or something like that, and James had already gone to Lockjaw's house and hung out there and saw his memorial, not memorial, his mementos around the house, and has gotten very close to Lockjaw's family, and so he had the idea, and he calls it looking at the lock, and so we would perform stuff that Lockjaw did, and so it just became it was just like it was a great idea, and and James Carter, he's like a walking encyclopedia.
Yeah.
it's like he's a walking encyclopedia. So he'd had all these stories and anecdotes about Lockjaw that were also very interesting and intriguing. So so he's continuing this idea. So they're setting up a tour for next year. His management or whatever, tour for next year. So I'm chomping at the bit for this to happen, for that tour to happen. Yeah, but Gerald Gibbs will be on piano, and a different drummer than who he's been using. And so I'm not familiar with the drummer that we'll be touring with.
Super, man, fantastic.
Yeah.
So, what else is on the schedule still for you? I mean, for the upcoming months, and you're coming to Europe still with some other projects, or?
Let's see. Actually, I just got back from Europe.
Oh, really?
I was working with I just got back. I was in La Rochelle, in an area with a person named Brian Carter, who has had a serious connection with he's from New Rochelle here in New York, just above Manhattan, New York City. He's from New Rochelle, and he's developed this connection with that's been going on for about 10 years. And so he's been able to organize a jazz with other people there. He's been able to organize a jazz festival and a series of other concerts there. And so I did it with him. So we were there for about 2 weeks, had a blast. Yeah, doing concerts. And he had a piano player named Nico Morelli, who's Italian, lives in Paris. But so we were playing. So me, Brian, and Nico were doing some concerts together, and did some other concerts with some other local musicians there. So so that was nice. That was for about 2 weeks. Then I see the next time I perform in Europe probably won't be until next year, I think, unless some other things happen. I'm not. There's people are talking about things, but I'm not sure. Then I'm also part of this. I'm going on the road with this dance company that's headed by Diane McIntyre, and she's got this project going on in the same tongue, and the world premiere is going to be in St. Paul, not St. Paul, I mean Minneapolis.
Oh, okay.
Minneapolis, Minnesota. Yeah, so that's going to be next month. And then we'll go to Arizona in January to perform the same project.
Yeah.
And then repeat the project again in Durham, North Carolina in February. And then we'll be at the Apollo, I think in April or May of next year. I guess it was April. Yeah, April next year. So, yeah. So that's one of the big things I got coming up. And so,
Beautiful.
and yeah, so, yeah, I'll be in Philadelphia next weekend with Andrew Lamb, perform with Andrew Lamb.
Yeah.
And then there's a thing I do every other Wednesday with Frank Lacey.
Oh, really?
And Taru Alexander. Yeah, with Frank Lacey, we have a steady. We perform maybe at a place called NAMA, New Amsterdam Musical Association, and it was the first black union and musicians union, and they have a building, smack and dab in the middle of Harlem, and they feature a lot of jazz, a lot of local musicians. Fortunate, it's kind of nice because we get to play with Frank every other week.
Yeah.
And Frank is awesome, as you know.
Oh, man.
And yeah. And so it's been great. Yeah. Yeah, Taru Alexander on drums and Yuyoi Ikawa on piano.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
She's she's a beast.
Yeah, I know.
I was like,
She's really good.
Yeah. So yeah.
Beautiful, man. Okay.
And then I'm trying to get some more shows doing my Negro spiritual project. So trying to do that. So and then playing with other people, different things and stuff. So
good to hear that you're busy and working. That's fantastic. So.
Yeah. It's nice. Work has been steady, so I'm grateful for that. Yeah.
Fantastic. So. Hilliard, man, thanks so much for sharing some of this stuff. I mean,
thanks, Ray. I really appreciate it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, I hope to catch you next year with James in Europe. And
okay. Yeah, that'd be great. Yeah. Let me.